Hello,
Hey Mohammed, how are you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Sorry, Mohammed, I was doing the medicine one.
No
Basically,
worries.
I'm just going to make you host if that's fine. I've
Yeah.
got a few other stuff to do, but just feel free to take it from there. Yeah, you've got the slides
So
and you're sure you know what to do.
yeah, it should be good. I've just got a question basically. From my end, when I'm on the Mentimeter, it said this thing about I'm only allowed to include a certain number of participants that I'm presenting to.
Okay. So some of the students might not be able to join because I think we can renew the subscription of Mentimeter, so sorry for that. But if you
That's
just
fine.
get them to leave the questions in the Zoom chat instead, rather than
Okay,
use
that's
the
fine.
Mentimeter, that probably will be better.
Okay,
All right.
that's fine. So I will, shall I this time then just do the questions from the Zoom meeting rather than the Mentimeter this
Yeah,
time?
yeah. Just tell them rather than joining the Mentimeter, I'll have the scenarios in front of you guys, and then
Sure.
if you can just ask in the Zoom chat. That's what I did in the previous one as well, but it should be fine.
Okay, that's fine. All good. That sounds good.
All right. Speak to you soon, Mohammed. Take care.
Speak to you soon. See you too. Bye. Hello. Hello, everybody. Okay, so we'll wait like another 2 minutes for people to come in, but can you everyone hear me? Just if you can hear me, just do a thumbs up or type in the chat. That'd be really helpful. Beautiful. Great stuff. Okay, so we'll just wait another 2 minutes. We'll start at 4:05 if that's okay with everybody. Okay. Um, Okay, so we're going to basically be doing a similar thing today. For people who don't know, we're going to this time go through some examples of students and their grades, and then we can look at maybe where would that applicant potentially apply to in the future. Okay. Um, this time we're going to use Mentimeter, but I'm not going to get you to do the interactive thing. So instead, I'd like you to put all your questions instead in the Zoom chat, if possible, and I'll look at all of those at the end. Sorry, can you? Okay, I'll speak a bit louder. Okay. Um, okay, maybe it's my laptop sensitivity of the voice, but apologies. I'll try and speak a bit louder if possible. Um, okay, we're gonna wait 1 more minute and then we're gonna call it in. Um, I'm just admitting more people into the chat. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna call it there and I'm gonna share my screen with everybody. Okay. Mm, 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 mm. Bear with me while I share my screen with everybody. Okay. Sorry, technical difficulties here. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen with everybody here, and then we're gonna start the presentation. Okay, so choosing dental schools. So if firstly, for all those who don't know me or who didn't manage to make the last one, my name's Gus. I'm a fourth year dental student over at Leeds, and I've been asked by MedicMind to deliver these webinars to you in terms of how to apply to dental schools strategically. Okay. Um, so that's the first thing. So what Medic Mind have asked me, or Dentist Mind have asked me to do today, is to give you some examples of a student and look at their grades and then consider where this person would apply to. Now, usually I would make this a bit more interactive. However, because of some problems with the app, I'm not going to do any sort of interactive stuff today up until the Q&A at the end where you can ask any questions you like. Okay? So, I guess we get started then. So we're starting here with student A. They've got a UCAT score of 2460, which is a bit less than 620 average, and they've got a band two. For GCSEs, they've got all nines. Now, it doesn't tell us how many GCSEs they have, but I let's stick on an average of maybe 8, 9 GCSEs, okay? And they have A level predictions or achieved A star AA. Okay, where should this person apply to? Now, usually I do a suggestion box. I'm not going to do that today. So what I'd say is if we think about this student, usually a student would like to consider other aspects of their application in terms of w- are they wanting to stay close to home? Are they wanting to have a certain type of teaching style delivered to them at the university? These are all things to take into account, but I wouldn't consider that for a student unless they have really, really good grades and UCAT overall. Because to be honest, you're lucky enough if you get into dentistry, okay? Um, just take it any place you get, you're lucky enough to take it. Not that many people have the luxury of choosing those kinds of things, but if you're really nitpicking on those kinds of things, then you may want to just have a look. But I'm not going to consider it for this student here. Okay. So they have really strong GCSEs, really strong A levels. Okay. So clearly we're going to look at a place that wants to rank heavily those kinds of the academia side of things. Okay. So, some things that I'll mention to you are some universities that I would consider. So, the first university I would possibly consider is Belfast. Okay, Belfast are a university that are really, really strong on your academics. They'll rate it via a point system. Okay, whereby your top 9 GCSEs are rated, and then your UCAT scores given some points as well. And then there's a cutoff. Okay, um, funnily enough, Belfast give you extra points if you have an achieved A level grade as well. So the student it doesn't mention here, but if the student has achieved A levels, that may put them in a bit more of a stronger position when if they choose to apply to Belfast. Okay. Now the point cutoffs in this case for Belfast last year was 37 points, meaning that you needed at least 37 points to gain an interview. Now before last year, the cutoff was 33 points. So it has been a bit of a jump, I would say. Okay. So although I would recommend Belfast with this student, I would, if their points is maybe around 37, maybe 36, that's not saying that they won't meet the points cut off this year. It's just a bit of a riskier move. But unfortunately, the UCAT is not considered that competitive anymore. Nowadays, a competitive score is maybe above 2,600 and for what I think is a decent score. Not saying 2460 is a bad score, okay? It's just that you want to stick with a bit more safer options, even if and if you're really pushing it, a bit more of the risky options. This is probably again a bit on the safer side, but maybe a bit risky considering what the past point scores are. But the point scores don't always jump up every year. They go up, they go down. Okay, so that's probably what I'd recommend for this student. I'd also probably think about the more holistic universities, like Dundee in this case, actually. I wouldn't recommend Leeds, even though they are more holistic, primarily because the sheer amount of applications they are getting this year. It just means that I feel like although they are holistic, they are going to overall want people who have a bit of a higher UCAT average compared to other universities. I'm not talking really high, like 2,800, but maybe around the 2,600 to 650 kind of area is what my guess is. Okay. Because leads are very holistic. However, they do look at other aspects of your application, which is why I'm not expecting their UCAT averages to be so high because they look at everything else as well. But maybe Dundee I'd recommend because they have slightly lower UCAT average requirements compared to most universities, and they are very holistic. So the GCSEs and A levels would come in pretty clutch in this situation. Um, so I recommend Dundee definitely. They do generally have a lower number of applications from the UK, but generally it's all quite proportionate in terms of applicants, interviews, and offers. So I wouldn't be too worried about those sort of statistics of Scottish universities in particular, because less people from the UK apply overall, because no one really wants to apply to Scotland unless they really have to, or they genuinely want to go to those universities in the first place. Okay. Um, other universities that I'd recommend, universities that have a dedicated cutoff, I wouldn't really recommend. So Plymouth, the past few years, have got over 2,600 cutoffs. You can see that on their website. So I'd rule that out straight away. Sheffield have 2,690. I wouldn't recommend any of the London universities since they're asking for minimum 2,800. Neither Birmingham because they're really high. Manchester's really high. Um, we've said Dundee's an option. Glasgow have a really high UCAT cutoff. So does Newcastle. Um, so maybe the holistic university. So because we're cutting down so many of the universities, people still have to put down four applications. Okay, you're not getting disadvantaged. You're disadvantaging yourself more if you're not going to put an application down and you only apply for two universities. You might as well apply to any universities as you can because you never know. You may get an interview from there. Okay, because the GCSEs A levels may come in in quite a good stance for this applicant here. So I'd still probably consider Leeds, but only because of the fact there's nowhere else to apply to. Cardiff, I probably wouldn't, primarily because they are holistic, don't get me wrong, but I've seen statistics in the past few years saying that the average applicant applicant's UCAT for a person who got invited to interview was around 2,600, 2,700. Okay. Now they do have some statistics that the lowest applicant who got an invited to interview that wasn't a widening participation applicant was really low. I'm talking about 2,300 here. So it may well be worth applying to Cardiff as well, but we don't know if that person who's applied with that really low UCAT score has some sort of other situation that the admissions tutors were considering and then let that student get in on an interview. Okay, so you can trust these statistics, but take them with a pinch of salt because they always may have something behind them that we don't know about. Okay. So I'd overall think Leeds is one. That's a really good one. Dundee's a good one. Cardiff's a good one, but a bit riskier, I'd say. And then as a fourth application, um, I would say for this student, the last one, you're really limited to be honest. So I personally wouldn't think you'd have a great of a chance in applying to any other uni, to be honest. Liverpool's potential, but Liverpool are holistic as well. They're really good at like personal statement heavy. They're a personal statement heavy uni because I've seen people who have very good UCAS and been rejected from there primarily because their personal statement was not good enough. So consider that. For this student, they probably need to have a really good UCAT score and then sorry, a really good personal statement. And then if that's good enough, consider Liverpool. Okay. If they'd want to do a fifth choice, that's down to them, but that comes down to student preference, I'd say personally. Okay. Um, okay, I hope that answers all your questions on student A. If you have any questions on like a particular scenario, we'll do it at the end when we're doing the Q&A. Okay. Next one. A little plug for this. So again, Medic Mind, Student Study Mind, they offer university consultations. I've been delivering personally these consultations for the past few years. They have different packages depending on what you want. So now a consultation with us with one of us would cost that much, and then if you want some more things, you can see what the advantages are here, and obviously it will be a bit more pricey depending on how much the higher tier that you want. Okay, so if you're confused about where to apply to, then you may want to use this. Okay, so you can scan this QR code and that will take you straight to, I think, the MedicMind website where you can purchase one of these packages. If you use the code UNI10, that will give you 10% off. Okay, I'll keep that on for 1 minute for everybody. Just 1 minute. This is going to be quite a quick kind of presentation and we'll have more time for the Q&A session at the end because I know everyone had lots of questions last time. So hopefully we'll get a bit more time today. Just 30 seconds more and then we'll go on to the next one. Okay, so we'll go on to the next one. So this one is a bit more of a realistic situation, I'd say, because it's very rare for people to get all nines. Okay, so I'll explain this situation for everyone. So this student, student B, has got a UCAT of 2,890, which averages a bit over 700 and a band one. Okay. For GCSEs, they've got five nines, two eights, the eights in physics and geography, and three sevens, sevens in, being in maths, English, and RE. The A-level predictions are AAA. So where should he apply? Okay. This is a much more of a realistic standing for this person. So to be honest, compared to the other student, this person has a lot of places to apply to because nowadays the UCAT is probably the greatest thing to distinguish applicants and where to apply to. Um, if I were to recommend the riskier universities are probably the ones that are the most academically demanding. Okay. Overall, this student has, I'd say, enough good academics to apply to the more top like competitive universities. I'm talking about your Manchester, your King's, your Queen Mary. Actually, no, I wouldn't recommend King's or Queen Mary in this situation. And Birmingham. The only reason I'm not recommending Queen Mary or King's is because this has AAA and you need A star AA predictions to apply to those universities. Um, so I wouldn't actually recommend King's or Queen's. Birmingham, um, you could apply, but it's very, very high academic requirements. So the average applicant probably has over 700 in their UCAT if they are applying to Birmingham. GCSEs are probably very high at Birmingham as well. So if this applicant wishes to apply to Birmingham, they're welcome to, but don't be surprised if you get rejected because they are known to reject very top-notch applicants as well. Okay. If you want to be safe and where if this applicant wants to be safer as to where they're applying to, then you may want to consider the more safer universities. I'd say for this person, Sheffield would be quite a good one because they've always met their UCAT requirement. Their GCSEs are top notch. They're meeting the A level. So I Sheffield's a good one. I'd say Leeds is a good one. I'd say Liverpool's a good one. Newcastle's probably quite a good one as well because they always show what their UCAT cutoff is every year. However, on their website, they do announce what their past cutoffs have been. And I can't remember the statistics off the top of my head. However, if there has been a year where he hasn't met it, even though the student has a really high UCAT requirement, I wouldn't want to take the risk personally, unless I'm really desperate to apply. Okay, but I think this student has a really good UCAT enough to apply. Bristol are now 100% UCAT, I think, the past 2 years. So their UCAT cutoff will be very high as well. So I don't think the statistics for that have come out yet, or no one's really asked them what cutoffs are they doing, but I guarantee you it's over 700. So again, Bristol's a much more of a riskier one. Newcastle's a bit more on the riskier side. Sheffield, Liverpool, Leeds are good. Dundee, Glasgow are good. Cardiff's good as well, to be honest, for this applicant as well. Manchester is a bit of an iffy one because Manchester, they're quite they consider everything, but they are known to have a very high UCAT cutoff score. Um, so from my details here that I have, the average UCAT score invited to interview was 2,794. This student has 2,890. So they are higher above it. They are above the UCAT cutoff for, to be honest, the last few years. So I'd say this student could be in a good position to apply to Manchester and get an interview. So I wouldn't it's riskier to applying to Plymouth. The only reason I'm saying that is because Plymouth tend to get a lot of applicants because their UCAT tend to be on the lower side of UCAT cutoffs across all dental schools. So the way that Plymouth um, shortlisted most of their students is not via their UCAT cutoff, but via your predictions. I personally applied to Plymouth when I was in year 13. And what they did was instead, because they had such a low UCAT cutoff in my time, I'm talking at 2,200. This was probably before when high UCAT started to kick on because people were taking gap years, they had more time to revise, therefore everyone was getting higher, therefore Plymouth had to put UCAT cutoffs higher. before all of that happened, UCAT cutoffs at Plymouth generally used to be really, really low. Like up to the point that I'd say most of you could have all applied to Plymouth and get an interview because you met all the academic requirements. But what they did was they changed their cutoff in my year from AAA to A star AA, and that cut off a tremendous amount of applicants because it's hard to get an A star prediction at A level. Okay, so because they did that, and this person's been prediction AAA, I wouldn't want to risk Plymouth for this applicant, or at least I'd tell the applicant that they may not do that this year because if you actually go on Plymouth's website, their grades that they ask for is between AAB to A star AA. So they were within their rights to increase that academic requirement should they wish. Okay, so we mentioned a few universities. Generally, the student was fine. I wouldn't be surprised if the student got at least three interviews if they applied. And that's all I've got to say about that. Okay, gap year. We mentioned this last year as well. Personally, for student A, I may consider a gap year for because then as long as they get their A level requirements of minimum AAA, or this student says A star AA, and it doesn't say predicted, so I'm assuming that's achieved. I'd probably, if they don't get in this year, I do a gap year, focus on that UCAT and up that UCAT, get that UCAT to a good score, solid score. So then they are in a well set position to apply to universities and probably get a decent enough um, offers from a lot of universities. I said this last time, I'm saying it again. Doing a gap year does not disadvantage you in any way. It's not the end of the world. Please don't think that it is, okay? Yes, it's really nice if you get into dental school for the first time because you feel like your life's on track, okay? But that's not always the case. I'm telling you right now, 60% of my cohort are all gap year students. Some students even took two gap years to get in, okay? I was fortunate enough to get in the first time. Not other people are not so lucky. Okay, so don't feel as if it's not the end of the world if you don't take a gap year. If you take a gap year, sorry. So that's all. That was my little rant on the side. But the reason I'm saying this is because I've done consultations with students and they've told me they're so nervous in taking a gap year, and it I know it sounds like such a taboo thing, but right now it's like it's the thing that can either it can make you more grounded. You have to make use of that year, and if that year does go well and you do your UCAT well, you're in a really good set position to just apply, get those interviews, smash those interviews, and get those offers. Okay, we'll go on to the next slide. Okay, so again, that was the end of the presentation. This is all recorded. I think it's also put up on YouTube. So if you come late or you missed the presentation, that's fine. Just after this, I think it will be uploaded. So you can go on that. It would be really helpful if you left us some feedback because then we know where to improve for next time when we're delivering next year's cohorts like yourselves, days like webinars like these because it helps them give a lot of information. Okay. So questions from the audience. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to use the Zoom chat instead. Okay. So we're going to do that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and then we're going to make use of the Zoom chat. Um, we have like 35 minutes, so we've got loads of time. The one thing I will say is um through ground rules. If people ask me, if people tell me what their statistics are, what grades and UCAT there is, I won't be able to answer it, primarily because that's not fair on everyone. I'm not going to spend time on, if everyone has a question, that's not fair if I'm spending 5 minutes answering, or what university should you apply to? Okay, that's not fair. So either you can get one of the consultations or you can use the advice they've given you, and that's probably the best you could do at that point. Another thing I will say, someone asked me in the last webinar whether I have a LinkedIn account. I'll make it public at the end of the day. So if you want to get in contact with me, make a LinkedIn account. If you don't have LinkedIn, make one. And then I'll post my name in the chat. So then you can just find my name and then that'll probably be it. Okay. Um, so that being said, we'll do some questions, and then if anyone wants to do hands up questions and speak to me directly, perfectly happy with that. Please don't feel that this is like a formal thing. I don't really care. It's all informal. It's fine. Speak to me. It's fine. Okay. So let's look at the chat. Okay. Um, sorry, Zara, I can't. Zara, I can't answer your question. Maybe if I have time at the end, I'll see if I can answer it. Okay. We're going to Rohan. So, what if you don't apply? What if you don't apply year 13 and then apply the year after the gap year? So, so you haven't applied the year you should. I'm assuming that's meaning two gap years then. Um, Two gap years. Again, I know like a decent amount of people who have done it. Look, as long as the main things are you have your grades, you have your UCAT, you can apply, because you don't want to waste a year in applying because it's unnecessary stress towards you as well. Okay. Um, so 2 year gap years, they're a normal thing. They are rarer than a 1 year typical gap year because people do typically improve all of their statistics within that one gap year because they have more time to do stuff. Okay, but by no means does it mean you can't take 2 gap years. Okay. Um, but yeah, that's probably all I got to say about that. Babak, yes, we were just going through examples of student statistics and where I would recommend they apply to. This will, again, I think be recorded and be sent to all of you as well as being put on YouTube. So just type in Medic Mind and you'll see it if you want to watch the first 20 minutes of the video. Okay. Um, Anaya, because you're okay, you're talking about one uni, so I'll answer that. So Anaya, I've got 2590, band two, 7 to 9s in GCSEs, predicted A star and 2 A's. Well done for that. Would I stand a chance of receiving an interview from Leeds? Oh, from a low participation neighborhood, not eligible for access to Leeds though. Would that be considered? If you're not eligible for access to Leeds, I'm pretty sure access to Leeds does not give you additional consideration for an interview. It just gives you additional consideration for an offer, like a lower offer. Um, I would say 2590. It's a decent score. By no means is it bad. Okay, but mine I would be nervous for you and see where the averages are this year. Okay, I think the averages may have come out or they're coming out tomorrow. They've said mid-September is when the mid statistics are coming out, so then you lot can see how you're all doing compared to the rest of the country. Generally, the mid statistics compared to the final statistics at the end of the testing phase, the final statistics tend to go down about 10 points. So whatever it is now, it may go down in the future at the end of, like a month or so time. Okay. You can apply leads. Make sure you have a really, really good, strong personal statement because that's probably the thing that would make you stand out. You got 7 to 9 in your GCSEs. Hopefully, we're talking more 8s and 9s than they are 7s. Because if you're talking about like 5 grade 7s, a few 8s and a 9, I may be a bit more nervous for you as opposed to if there are more 8s and 9s. Okay. How crucial are GCSEs in dentistry applications? Nowadays, less important. It used to be that it was very important. Universities that definitely talk about it probably place a higher emphasis on it. So those universities may be like Birmingham. Birmingham, I think, ranked the number of A stars you have, so they're quite serious about it. They're really high academic university. I'm talking about Birmingham, I'm talking about King's, I'm talking about Queen Mary, because they are the most academically demanding requirements of the universities. That doesn't necessarily mean they're a better university. That's just what they're asking for. Okay. Um, so I'd probably say those. Sheffield don't really say how they use it. Leeds don't really say how they use it. Manchester, you need definitely good grades for Manchester. As many A stars as you can for Manchester. Newcastle not really, Bristol not really. The others I wouldn't really say so. As long as you're getting a decent amount of 7s, 8s, 9s, you're fine. Um, I got a strange question. If you do a degree like first year biomed, can you apply to 4 to 5 options similar to taking a gap year, but instead you're already in Newcastle? You can. I don't know why you would, because if your goal is dentistry at the end of the day and you're doing biomed, you're wasting 9 grand. Okay. I would, if you're doing biomed medical science, you're going to be busy with the course because university is not easy. On top of that, you're going to be doing UCAT, which is a difficult exam in and of itself. On top of that, you have interviews to prepare for. Okay. Make sure so I wouldn't recommend it. Um, um, if at the end of the day you don't mind doing biomed, fairs, yeah, do biomed. There's no problem with that, but you just have to be up for doing it. Okay, thank you. Next question. I'm thinking of doing A levels and not applying, and then in the gap year, taking the UCAS, only 1 year gap year. But okay, so I'm assuming you're taking your A level, you'll have a gap year, and in that gap year, you'll do the you can apply for the next year onwards. I'm assuming that's what that question means. That's fine. Okay, if your UCAT's not good enough this year, that's unfortunate. But just because your UCAT's not good enough this year, that doesn't mean you still can't apply. Okay, what's the harm in giving in an application? Okay, if you're getting an interview, that's even a plus. If universities reject you pre-interview, you can generally apply to them again the following year if you really want to go to that university. If you're unsure about what those policies are, email the university, email the university admissions team. Can I reply to you if I've been rejected beforehand? Okay. I would still give it an application. If your UCAT's really, really bad, I'm talking like really bad, like underneath 2,400, yeah, you can give it an application. It's very unlikely, but who knows? God could help you there. Um, so you may want to consider it, but yes, you can take the whole year and revise for UCAT, but let me ask you a question. What about if you don't do your UCAT well then, even if you have a whole year's prep for it? I'll be honest with you, some people are not made for that exam. God knows I wasn't. Okay. Luckily the BMAT was my saving grace, and that's why I got into Leeds. Okay. Because I didn't do that well in UCAT. Um, I did much better in my BMAT, which is now gone, which is sad for people because I really liked that exam. But the if you take UCAT just and you're spending a whole year on it, do not burn out because I know I was in the year where COVID really hit. When I was in year 12, it was at March, and then I spent like 6 months doing my UCAT. I burnt out. I know I burnt out, and I know I didn't do well as I'd wanted to because I think I did it too much. That may be just me be that may be just me making excuses for myself, but that's what I personally think. So yeah, UCAT, yeah, you can do it a bit a day, but just don't burn out. Next one. If you take a gap year, do you resit the UCAT up after just sitting A levels so you can apply from October? Sorry, something's in the way of the question, so I can't really read it. Okay, I can read it now. If you take a gap year, do you resit the UCAT? Just apply from October, or do you resit it after your A level results? So Anaya, I think okay, if you're planning on taking a gap year, you do your A levels. The time between A level and results day, the UCAT testing phase is not open. It starts to open just after you results day, if I'm correct. Okay. So you sit it between, so the results day that's just passed. After that, maybe a few weeks or 2 weeks, the UCAT testing phase opened. It opened between now and October. You take it then. Okay. The next year onwards, let's say, if you're going to take another gap year, another results day comes. It's basically after results day, you have like a certain time period you take it in. Hope that answers your question. And then the year that you take your UCAT, the year that you're going into is the year entry you're going for. So right now we're going for 2020, we're going into 2025. So we're going to you lot are going to be applying for 2025 entry. So I hope that makes sense. Where is it? But if you take a gap year, can you retake your UCAT? Yes, you can take it every single year. Can take it for the rest of your life if you like. But your UCAT result is only valid for the year that you're applying for. So the UCAT scores that all you lot have taken, the UCAT exam, it's only valid for this admission cycle. It's not allowed for the next admission cycle. Okay. Some other admissions tests do allow, like the GAMSA. If any of you are grads, then you'll know that the GAMSA is another admissions test that universities like to use. If you're a graduate only, so you have to have done a degree, and that scores valid for 2 years. Next one. Following the biomed questions, would I have to leave the biomed course before applying? No, you don't need to. Or can I stay on the course while reapplying? And then if I get rejected again, I have like engineering. Yeah, you can. That's all correct, Babak. Yeah, you're fine. Um, I was wondering what courses would you recommend for applying for a fifth option? If your heart is set on dentistry, you want to do dentistry, and you don't mind taking a gap year, I would never do a fifth option because what's the point of me applying to biomed if A, I don't want to be a biomedical scientist, B, it's a waste of 9 grand, C, I know I'm not going to enjoy the course. I wouldn't recommend it. If you're really hard pressed on doing a fifth option, then I can't recommend to you do what you want. If you want to do dentistry after biomed, good luck. It's much harder because it's much more competitive. Okay. If your GCSEs are, this is why I say your A levels and your GCSEs take priority. Make sure your A levels are the three A's because if you're not, you can always do a gap year and retake your UCAT as many years as you want. Okay. But your A levels come in priority first. So I probably wouldn't recommend a fifth option. You could do anything as your fifth option. So I'm not going to really recommend that. Karina, what makes a person something really good? That's a really good question, Karina. I would say reflection. Okay. Reflection is key. I want to read the experiences you have, why a dentist needs those skills from the experiences you've had, and then why that will make you a good dentist in the future. It's all about reflection. What did you see the dentist do in your work experience that made you think, okay, I never really noticed that? And then what have I done that's similar to that? And then why would that make me a good dentist? I'll give you like an example. Um, in my, I'll give an example from my personal statement. So I talked about how there was how there was a dentist and I did work experience at a private dentist, right? And they because it was a private dentist, there was a much more focus on the business aspect. So I talked about that and I talked about the importance of that. I never really noticed that, a dentist needs to be like a detective, a business person all in one. Okay. And they need to be, good at giving care. So they need to manage all of that. And then I linked it to my own experiences, skills, things that I've done in the past. I had another experience of I had an experience in volunteering where I helped an old lady who was quite distressed. So I did volunteering at a geriatric ward in a hospital, like an elderly care ward. And because of that, because of my communication skills, the problem was solved. And a dentist needs that because they need to be able to, again, converse with these patients in the community and, speak to them in a clear, concise manner to get the job done or explain really complex situations to them. Okay, that's reflection. Okay, I always like to always put something that shows you're not just like a maniac and you're only just interested in the academic side and I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that. Show yourself off. What do you do in your free time? Do you have any hobbies? And link them to dentistry. Okay, there's no point in saying I don't know, I like swimming if you're not going to somehow link it to either it being a work-life balance or it being something you enjoy, because you have to show them that you're a person, you're an individual, you're your own human being, you have your own identity. And always appreciate that you've never done dentistry. So you can't say, I'm going to be an endodontist, I'm going to be an oral and maxillofacial surgeon, because you lot have never done that before. So don't say I've always had an interest in dentistry because you never had an interest when you were 5. A lot of personal statements that I read usually start off with that, and that's not really a good way to start off. Hope that helps. I'll be honest, I have 88 sentences, 65 people will be saying any answers. Well, I think resitting you can reset your GCSEs privately, but you have one, two, three, four, five, six GCSEs over seven or above. So you probably could get away with applying with those grades, but that means you'll have to have a really good UCAT. That's good to know as a complete you couldn't reapply. So dental school lets you reapply as long as you didn't get into your first time. Yeah. Yes, it does most of the time. I said this story last time, I'll say it again. I had an interview from Birmingham. I didn't do well in that interview. It was my first ever interview. Um, and then I got rejected. And then they sent me an email saying I can't ever apply to for dentistry at Birmingham ever again. Okay, so post interview, there are policies that are put in place, meaning you cannot apply. I don't know if that's every university or no, or maybe a few universities. I'm not sure if there's like a policy pre-interview. Again, the universities that you're considering to apply to, email them because the deadline's October 15th. So if you email them now, it'll be in the inbox by tomorrow. Hopefully they'll get back to you. Okay, Davina. If I'm predicted two A stars and a B in chemistry, how well I need to do in UCAT and surgeons for interview? It's a bit of a sticky one because you have the B in chemistry. The first thing I'd recommend to you is talk to your teachers. If your UCAS application if your UCAS application is submitted, then that's a bit annoying. But generally, your teachers have dealt with previous students in the past that are applying for medicine, that are applying for dentistry, that are applying for veterinary, and they know the minimum is AAA. If you tell them, look, I'm applying for dentistry, I need that A in chemistry, okay? Can you improve me somehow? Could I do something? Okay. Generally, most of the time they do it because they know that all your university applications are going to be wasted unless you don't. Okay. So I do that as the first thing. And to be honest, I wouldn't be so sure if you'd even get an interview in the first place because nowadays the minimum requirement is AAA. So I wouldn't be so sure if you'd get an interview, even if you had like an amazing prep, because that's step one, getting those predictions of 3As. That's now the bare minimum. Please, which uni takes the lowest scores in UCAT? Mm, Plymouth used to. Now they just Plymouth are more average, like around the 2,600 rate. Look, nowadays I don't think of any university that will give you an interview unless you have under 2,500. If you have amazing academics, then consider the academic weighted universities like Belfast. Dundee, you may want to consider. Dundee are on the lower side of the spectrum. Liverpool maybe on the lower side of the spectrum. They're on the average side as well. Leeds maybe, but your academics and your personal statement has to be really good. Do any of the dentistry unis see your no? Your universities the universities you've applied to only see that you've applied to them. So for example, if I applied to Sheffield, Birmingham, Cardiff, and Leeds, Leeds will only see that I've applied to Leeds. Sheffield will only see I've applied to Sheffield. Sheffield will not know that I've applied to Birmingham, to Cardiff, and to other universities. And they will not see my fifth option either. Is there a certain amount of work experience some unis require? 14. Yeah, I've heard 2 weeks is the minimum as well. Generally, that's on the admissions requirements. Just go on that, you'll find it there. Um, is there a specific subject that A star has to be in for unis that require A star A? Yes, it's generally biology and chemistry. Should my personal statement be really personal? State should be really personal because it's for engineering and it's more about skills and achievements that we have be really personal because for engineering it's more for engineering like degrees it's more about skills and achievements and what you've done. Um yeah, it should be personal, I'd say, because it's all about reflection. You look, you saying that I've got manual dexterity, you don't have manual dexterity because you've never done dentistry before. It's all about you appreciating you have those skills that you're willing to improve on in the future during your dentistry course that you can then make use of, and you'll know at the end of it you'll have your manual dexterity and all of that. But you that engineering personal statements are way different than dentistry personal statements because these are admissions. It's different from engineering because in engineering they're very factual. Give me this, you need this, you need this skill, you need that skill. In dentistry, you need to be an all-rounder. Same as in medicine, you need to show you're an all-rounded person. That means volunteering. That means great academics. That means good work experience. That means reflection. That means extracurriculars. That means all of that. Okay. Do unis such as Liverpool and Manchester require a separate PS to fill out as well as the PS used to do for. Okay, so some universities will require they won't read your personal statement. Instead, they'll send you their separate form. This is called like I think for Manchester it's called the non-academic questionnaire. And basically they're going to use that instead of your personal statement. And that will be used in conjunction with your academics to decide who's going to get an interview. Okay. I don't know if Liverpool do it. I know Manchester do it. Is not doing maths A level a mistake? My teacher said I won't get in because I don't do maths. I do psychology. That is the biggest lie I've ever heard in my life. I want to say slap your teacher, but I'm not going to say that. I'm not allowed to. Um, I know people who have gotten into medicine with biology, chemistry, and food. Food tech. Okay, it's possible. Psychology is such a common A level to apply with. I would not listen to that teacher at all. Okay, biology, chemistry is the minimum. Some universities say and another science. That psychology is included within all of that. I would not worry. Plymouth is notorious for changing their grade requirements after you guys deadline. They've done it twice before. Yeah, so that happened in my year as well. So do you have to mention how long or how many hours you have volunteered, or is it like a weekend? Okay, I'm enough for me to reflect. I don't think I did. I think I did volunteering for 6 months. Now it sounds really good because I did it for 6 months. So it may be something that I did include in the past because I know I did probably more than the average person. Okay. That being said, I probably wouldn't be unless they asked for it, then I wouldn't. Okay. That's all the questions so far. I'm not any hands up, then we've got 13 minutes. So again, any other questions I am fine with. I am okay. Yeah, mostly Akifa. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. I like basically across the board because it's really hard to get into those kinds of universities because of their high academic requirements. Okay, so we're here for another 13 minutes again. I don't mind. I'm here until the end. Okay, in a priority list, what's more important? Uh, in the long term, A level grades. In the short term, UCAT. If you're applying in one circuit, I'd say yeah, UCAT's more important than A level grades. But in the long term, your A level grades are the thing. Like up to the point that you cannot get an offer. You can end up not getting an offer at any university, have three A's on results day, ask a university, are you accepting applicants through clearing? And then they say, what A levels do you have? You say, I've got three A's. They're like, yeah, we'll give you an interview. Like, I'm talking that's how important they are because that can mean the difference of getting in and not getting in. What about Queen Mary? Um, Queen Mary asked for like three sixes and like three sixes and three sevens, something along those lines. If you literally type in Queen Mary UCAT cutoff, you can go on their website and it tells you what their UCAT require minimums have been the past few years. Obviously, they're subject to change every year, but I'd probably go off that. If I have a UCAT of 250, would I be considered? I wouldn't say so. Sorry, Sarah. I would say it's probably going to be a bit more difficult for you unless you have some sort of extenuating circumstances, possibly, or somehow amazing GCSEs. And even with amazing GCSEs and amazing A levels, I'd probably be hard pressed to say if you'd get an interview. So apologies for that. Is there a session for medicine, please? That just happened. So that ended at 4, and then this one starts from 4 to 5. I think again, it was recorded and it will be put on YouTube. Do you have any ballpark? No, I don't. I don't. I genuinely don't. I can't tell you. It could be good, it could be bad. I have asked them. They refused to answer me because they said if they told me, it could mess up it could like, I could game the system of like applying to lead. So no, I can't tell you because I don't know. Okay. I'm going to, I'm going to put my name in because again, if you lot want to DM me privately or talk about your situation, then I'm available on LinkedIn. I'll make it public at the end of the day. If it's not public now, I'm not sure. But that's what I've put in. And yeah. How can you demonstrate manual dexterity through your hobbies? Loads of things. So you can do loads of people do crochet. That's like an option. Oh, they'll do it for a bit and then they'll say that's how they've done it. Crochet, they've done piano, the a lot of time in instruments one, art, soap carvings one. Yeah, those are the main ones. Is an EPQ worth it? An EPQ, yes, it is, I guess. I know people who did an EPQ. It gives you a one grade reduction for generally most universities, but obviously look at the university you're applying to and actually make sure that benefit for you is there as a dental student. I know Sheffield gives you that benefit. I know Leeds give you that benefit. I'm not so sure about other universities, um, off the top of my head. So I would say just keep it. It's okay, but obviously it's additional stress for you on top of your A levels that you're taking. At interview stage, are applicants with a higher UCAT more likely to get offers, or is it dependent on interview score? No. Generally, when you're at interview, it's a level playing field. Everyone's now considered the same level. Okay. Now it's down to you and your performance. If you do really well, well done, you get an offer. If you don't do that well, you don't. If you happen to have an equal interview score with someone else, they then may use your UCAT score or another aspect of your application to decide who gets the offer. That could be UCAT, that could be your personal statement as well. When should you start revising for the UCAT? If you haven't taken and you're applying for this year, I'd say now, because the UCAT testing phase is probably going to end within a month. You need about 6 weeks to revise for it. The benefit I said, Rohan, was one grade reduction. So if your standard offer is 3As, you'll get an offer of AAB, provided you do well in your EP. Oh, I was gonna say year in year 12. Yeah, look, it really depends. If you're in I would say you can apply early. If not apply, sorry, you can start revising for UCAT. The average is people say the average is about 6 weeks worth of revision, but some people need a bit more time. So that's really down to you. I can't give an answer. That's down to you. So I'd say at least 6 weeks, probably what I'd say. Okay. Okay, we have another 7 minutes. So again, I'm available. Yeah, so again, we'll wait another 7 minutes. How did I find my leads interview for my lab? Yeah, I'm about to talk about it. It was a long time ago. Well, mine was online. All of my interviews were online, funnily enough. Um, Leeds was a good experience, primarily because it was my last interview. I'd had two interviews prior to that, so at this point I'm comfortable. So, and the questions, they weren't that hard. It's a good mix, good mix of everything in terms of skills that you needed as a dentist. That could range from like data interpretation to ethical thinking to what would you do in this scenario, and then questions generally about knowledge that a dentist needs. Do you have wider reading? What's relevant these days in dentistry? What are the current issues, the hot topics? I think all of that. Yeah, it was a pretty nice interview overall, and I was happy with like I knew after that I know I did well. So any advice on applying between medicine and dentistry? Oh, that's a hard one. Do what you want, but you're going to be doing it for a long time. I chose dentistry over medicine primarily because I love my sleep and I don't want to do night shifts. And whilst the financials are a sensitive topic about it, we're not gonna deny here that there are strikes going on. I don't see any dentists striking because they're not complaining about how much they get paid. That being said, now that I'm at dental school, I've realized if you still want to make it as a dentist, you have to work really, really hard. Okay, and NHS dentistry is not it's not a easy business. Okay, you have to work really, really hard, especially if you're full NHS. You have to be really fast and work really hard. When did you receive your leads interview round? That's a really good question. I think I leave it around January time, January, Feb time. I know I got my offer in, no, I think I got my interview in February and my offer in March. No, oh yeah, so Rohan, yeah, so again, medicine dentistry, which one to choose? If you're, it's hard because look, medicine's got so much scope. You could do so much with it. Like you can think about how many specialties there are in medicine. There's only 13 in dentistry, and who says you're even going to specialize at that point as well? I'm not going to put any of you off, but dentists, they are probably one of the, I don't know if you heard that fact, like dentists having a high suicide rate because it's so tedious. It can be, you're having probably 70% of people coming in every day saying, "Oh, I hate the dentist." How do you think that makes a person feel? Okay. Um, so yeah, it's not. I'm not putting anyone, I hope I'm not putting anyone off, but there are positives and negatives in each. I'd say write them down on a list and really figure out which one you want to do. If someone asked you why BDS and not hygiene therapy or dental nurse, what would you say? Um, I would say probably because hygiene therapy, they don't really focus on the scientific causes. I'm a person that's really interested in science. Hygiene therapy, they don't really decide the course of the treatment action. As a dentist, you're the leader of that multidisciplinary team. I really like making those decisions. I really like demonstrating my leadership. And then you, in an interview, you'd probably talk about where you've demonstrated leadership in your own life. Opinion on military dentistry. Yes, you can. There's someone in my year who's part of the military doing dentistry as well. It's really, really hard to get into, and you have to be in really, really good shape. I'm not talking like you go to the gym and that's it. Okay, you have to be doing more. Um, Really, really competitive to get into. They only accept like 3 people a year or something like that. Um, Positives, they'll pay off all your university fees and you get to specialize within the military. You only have to serve for a certain amount of time, and then you're not let go, but you can. I think you have to serve for a minimum of a few years, and then you can leave. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, if one question comes up in the next minute, I'll answer it. If not, we're gonna start wrapping up. Okay. How do I find? Yeah, suddenly loads of questions. How do you find Leeds teaching style and uni overall? Yeah, it's quite good. Really traditional lectures are given. The good thing about it is that the lectures are taught quite alongside the clinical stuff. So I do feel like I learn something and I'll do the practical stuff literally like within the same week or within 2 weeks of studying it, which is quite good. Clinical could be a bit better in the fact that maybe because I got affected by COVID, I only started seeing patients in the third year. Whereas other universities like Plymouth, you start seeing patients in first year. So I wish I did get a bit better clinical experience, but that's the university's risk assessment on when it's safe to see patients. Um, yeah, okay. Thanks, Babak, for telling me that. I'll put my LinkedIn not on private, and then hopefully you lot can be in contact with me if you ever need any help. Um, I'm gonna make it public probably in the next 10 minutes after the thing ends. Can you summarize the unis and rank which are the easiest to get into in the least? Okay, that's a big question for 1 minute left. I would say it's easiest. I'd probably say Dundee. The only reason I'm saying Dundee is because I remember they just have a really low requirements. Dundee probably Plymouth if you have a good UCAT. I'd say Liverpool's there. Your average unis are probably your Glasgow, your Sheffield, your Cardiff, your Leeds now, only now, not before. Um, and then your bit higher ones are your Manchester, your Glasgow, your Kings, and your Queens. Okay, so I hope that answers all of your questions. I've enjoyed giving these webinars to all of you lot. If you lot have any more questions, send me a DM on LinkedIn, um, and I'd be happy to answer anything that you lot have to ask. Yeah, so I'll make my LinkedIn public in like 10 minutes. Um, and I hope that, and good luck with all your applications as well. Okay. Hopefully, if you ever come to Leeds, I'll see you all around. And I do that again. A reminder: I do the university consultations as well, and I also do interview prep if you're ever considering to do interview preparation with Medic Mind as well. Okay, so I'll see you a lot later, and have a good one.
Thanks.
No worries.